Wait, are we supposed to look at the camera?
We can look at the camera, yeah. It's going to be a back and forth. It's going to be very informal.
Okay.
And I'm going to edit it to make us look really smart.
I'm not used to seeing
Yeah,
you.
that's what I did with minimalism.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This is episode 6, and with me I have the Minimalists.
Hello, everyone.
The Joshua Fields Melbourne.
I'm not actually used to seeing Matt without a camera, so I usually want to avoid looking directly at him because there's
Yeah.
always just a camera up to his eye.
So most of your life is spent ignoring me. That's perfect. That's good. So I have some questions here from YouTube. People have been asking about the series. Ariel, I would like to ask if it was hard at one point to put a lot of money and time into a project without knowing if it was going to work.
We split the cost, so it wasn't just all on Josh and I. It wasn't just all on you. It wasn't just all on Spire Media. So Josh and I were certainly prepared because we have been saving over the last several years since we started the Minimalists.com. There's a little bank account we have that we put money into to invest into our business. At the end of the day, I knew Josh and I had enough of an audience who wanted a documentary like this so bad that I was pretty confident, and there was no business model behind it. But my gut. But my gut told me that we would at least break even.
Yeah, and we were willing though to lose that investment, to lose the money.
And at the end of the day, we wouldn't have lost everything.
Yeah.
The initial production, like Ryan said, we started with zero. We didn't go into it saying, all right, here's our budget for this film.
Right.
I think that would have been scary. If we would have said, hey, let's spend $250,000 to make a documentary, because then all of a sudden the pressure is here it is.
Yeah, but hey, let's split 30 grand between 6 people.
We had the opposite pressure. It was and it's a different kind of pressure. It seems less scary to me, but more of a challenge. How do you make a documentary for functionally $0 at first? Or as close to $0 as possible. And then, of course, there'll be costs that, once you get to a point where you feel great about the film, that's really where the cost came in, I felt like. I don't know if you agree or not, but if we had a terrible film and we felt shitty about it, we're not gonna be all right, let's go off for color grading now.
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Let's pay someone to make some music. Were you scared?
I wasn't, and in terms of the finances, I was also at a point. I graduated college with $110,000 in student loan debt, and I bought a brand new car.
Yeah.
So at that time, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I needed to make money. I needed to actually have some savings. But I had gotten to a point that when you guys came and said, hey, let's make this documentary, it was kind of the perfect time for me because I was just about to pay off all of my debt, but I had enough savings that I was like, all right, I can do this. I could sacrifice 2-3 months here and there to get started. And like you said, getting started costs essentially nothing. Right. If I have all the gear and what did we spend? $1,000 on flights and split between 6 people. That's
yeah, and we stayed in the same hotel. Ryan and I were on that tour, so we stayed in the same hotel rooms, and we'd share a bed.
Or we'd sleep in a reader's home, or something.
Cheap Airbnbs every once in a while.
I'll be honest though, man, I wasn't scared, Matt, because it was because of you. I wasn't scared. You came out to New York and you filmed that book trailer, and then you sent us the book trailer, and I was like, oh my! And you just had that little camera, dude. It was just such a. It looked like a
got
camera.
it from Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. It really did look like that to me. And you're micing us up and stuff, and you got this little camera you're filming us with, and I'm like, I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but you just wanted to work on it as a passion project. But when you sent that to us, the final product, it was so amazing that I knew that if you did come on the road with us, I had a lot of faith that you would be able to create something beautiful. I never expected to make anything off the movie or for it to be on Netflix or for whatever it may be, but I was willing to take the chance and felt confident that we would at least break even on the film. Due to that trailer, I knew you would create something beautiful.
By the way, it took a long time to even break even, and if anything, that was a little bit of a scary part because, there were some failures in there for sure. For me, it's weird because it was by most measures, it was a wildly successful theatrical release. It was #1 indie doc opening for any independent film of 2016, or any independent documentary, I should say, not any independent film, any independent documentary. And that sounds great, but then you realize that, Well, the theater instantly gets 53%, and the distributor takes half of what's left. And oh, by the way, there are taxes and fees and really weird Hollywood math that all of a sudden, you get to a point where...
I never understood the term Hollywood math until going down this road.
Yeah. It actually, we hadn't broken even after having such a successful release and debut and having a tour. Even after the theatrical release, it still hadn't broken even. It took till we got to the online release till we were even able to recoup the full amount of money. If anything was scary, it was that part where it was like, okay, we've gone down this path, and it has been lucrative in terms of revenue, but the overall amount of money that we're using to pay back the debt on this film, I say debt, it's our own money, right? Paying ourselves back.
We did not take one loan out for this film.
No, nor would I have, ever.
No. I mean, Matt did go to his dad and borrow like 50 grand.
Yeah.
Not true. Let's just put that out there.
For the record, I'm joking.
Andy asks, I realize that minimalism is about getting rid of stuff you don't need, but what about minimizing the things you do? I'm always overbooked, and I feel like I can never catch a breath. What do you do then?
Andy, all those boulders that you have on your back that you're carrying, you picked them up. You can put whatever boulder you want down. Yeah. You have to say no to as many things as possible so you can say yes to so much more. That's what I would tell Andy. We do it. I mean, I don't know Andy's exact situation, but when I was like that, when I see most people who are like that, they've done it to themselves, and they can totally undo it themselves.
Elise has a question here. I was just wondering how, if at all, have all of your lives changed since making the film? And what can we do as a society to further promote this message?
How has your life changed?
How has my life changed? Actually, it's changed a lot, and it's more so my choices that I've made after releasing the film. Because for me, it was the hardest, most difficult thing I've worked on because it was such a big project. But having done it and gone through it, I realized that creating original content was just so much more fulfilling than doing client work, which is all I had done before.
You've had fulfilling client work, I'm sure, at least more fulfilling than others, right?
Yeah, I think to say it wasn't fulfilling would be wrong, but I think there was a kind of fulfillment and a kind of creative output that I could put on an original project that I would never be able to do on a client work. Because at the end of the day, when I do a client project, there could be 10, 15 revisions that skews it away from my direction. As to where it's an original project, we're all collaborating, there's really no such thing as a revision.
It's like being a CPA. You certainly have the intellect to go be a certified public accountant, but are you really going to put in the extra hours to make sure someone else's taxes get done? No, it's not what you're passionate about. I think it's the same thing with virtually anything you're doing. Luckily, Ryan and I have a CPA who's passionate about accounting, and it's the only person I've ever met who's actually into that. There was another question there that, how have your lives changed?
You can't go outside anymore.
Well, it was funny, man. We were in Boston yesterday. Right around the venue. It was Chinatown in Boston, and I'm walking around, and it was the first time where I knew that no one would recognize me. Over the last 6 months or whatever it's been, I've found that the more and more I go out, it'll be a dozen times a day. And we're not celebrities. Brad Pitt gets recognized by every single person he runs into. I can't even imagine what that kind of universe is like. Ours is a different kind of weird universe where 1 out of 100 people recognize you, or 1 out of 50, or maybe 1 out of 100 come up and say hi, and 1 out of 20 recognize who you are. And so I found the good side of that is actually making sure that my actions are congruent with the best person I want to be, because I know that no matter what, I'm in a weird way always being sort of extra, just a little titch more scrutinized.
The only way my life has changed is I get recognized more. I mean, other than that, it's, we don't have yachts now. Although, minimalism part 2, maybe after that we'll have minimalist yachts. Yeah.
There's a question in here down the road that we'll get to.
What was the second part of that question? I forget.
Well, it was more about the society. So what can we do as a society to further promote this message?
So if anyone out there wants to promote this message, they just need to tell their friends and family about it. I mean, that is the best way to spread anything. I mean, when you go to a coffee shop and it's amazing, what do? You go tell your friend about it. If you have an amazing experience with a company, then what do? You tell your friends and family about it. You put it on Facebook, you put it on social media. So I would just encourage people to do the same thing that they do with other things that they find value in.
This is from Roger. What was the most challenging thing about making this film? And if you were to do it again, what would you do differently?
The only thing that I would do differently, I think Josh would agree with this, the tour we went on in 2014, we just learned a lot of lessons, like don't reserve a room for 70 in Indianapolis because 500 people might show up to see you and you might have to turn away 430 people. What a horrible experience. Now, luckily, that did happen in Indianapolis, but luckily, there was a theater across the street that the bookstore owner had a relationship with, and we just happened to call an audible and move everything over. So it just worked out on the fly.
I feel like, yes, there will always be problems. We'll never have a perfect tour stop, but the problems get better over time. Like that problem last night, it was like, hey, there's going to be 1,000 or 1,100 people here in Boston at this huge, gorgeous theater, and we've got to talk, and they're really excited to see us. And then we're having a video issue. Whereas with our first tour, it was remember actually in the documentary when we showed up in Vegas, man, we rented a venue and no one was at the venue. That's a much bigger problem. Can you imagine if we were at the Wilbur Theater last night in Boston and no one was at the venue?
Just closed. Yeah.
Get in. Nightmare.
Yeah. So better problems.
Yeah. I got one more question, and this was a question from a lot of people. And they keep asking, what's next? Are you working on anything new? Is there Minimalism V2, or is there another film project that we're working on?
Yeah. I don't know how you typically answer that question.
Yes.
I mean, I'll tell you how I answered it last night, but it actually wasn't a question. When we were doing the Q&A with the crowd, we were recording a live podcast, and I was just thanking you and thanking Conrad for being there at the event. And what I told the people there is, we're recording this right now. We recorded the Q&A, we recorded a bunch of other stuff that go along with it, and I'm not sure what exactly is going to come out of it. But it worked out really well last time. We weren't sure what exactly was going to come out of it. So are we working on something? Yes. What is it? It's a bit nebulous right now, and that excites me because we get to develop what the shape of that thing is. We get to figure out where we're going from here, and that part can be a little scary because no one is going to drag us in that direction. We have to keep walking in that direction ourselves.
Well, I just remember when you left with 2 terabytes of footage, 1,000 hours of footage, or whatever from the tour. I just remember thinking
950 hours of sunrises.
And time lapse.
Well, dude, it's changing now, man. We shot for 5 days, and we already have 1 terabyte of footage.
But what you do is you're able to boil it down to bring out the awesome content that's in that. I feel like you're going to be able to do the same thing with this footage. So, I hope there is a series that comes, or a special or something that comes out of all this videography. Am I saying that right?
That's what my parents call me, a videographer.
Doesn't that hurt,
Yeah,
man?
it stings a little bit.
Yeah. I remember I was dating someone once, and she would refer to me as a blogger.
Oh, yeah.
And
no, remember it was the traveling book salesman.
It was even worse.
It was even worse.
Yeah, well, and it felt like that sometimes, man. I mean, I'm an author, and that's not even the title. And now I'm comfortable with whatever you want to call me. If you want to call me a blogger, what does it matter, man? I mean, Matt is such a talented filmmaker, and the documentary that you made, I mean, that you ended up just
it's your
shaping this thing, man. And I'll tell you, you can call you whatever, someone can call you whatever they want. They can't take away the fact that that is your first feature-length film.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah.
It's just so great, man.
What I think is actually great is that it's the fact that we're doing this little Q&A here about minimalism as we are literally starting a new project. And we don't know what that project is going to be now.
Right.
But I'm excited. Honestly, the past 4 days were pretty awesome. I think we got some killer content.
I know you did, and I've only seen this tiny little speck of it.
A little bit.
I saw the little keyhole view into your world, man, and I'm already excited about it. I can't wait, man.
And that does it for Making Minimalism. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any value from it, you can subscribe to this channel for more videos. I'm going to be creating a lot of behind the scenes content for new projects that I work on with the Minimalists and others. I also have a new podcast called The Ground Up Show, where I speak with creatives about how to build something from nothing. You can find that at groundupshow.com. Thanks again for watching.